Hello all. In this video we're going to take a look at how to connect to a webcam using OpenCV, and with that we'll be able to display the frames of the video as if they're live, and we will also learn a bit more about how to use the wait key function to do things that we haven't been doing before that will allow us to control our program better as a user, and especially a program that involves video. And we'll kind of explore the parameters of all of this a little bit. I'm going to go straight to PyCharm because really we're just going to work with this code example, and we'll see where it takes us. Now I'm going to actually comment out some of the code here and we'll put it back as we talk through it. So I'm going to comment out this and I'm just going to put in our normal wait key and we'll see what that does. All right, so in your readings, it was mentioned the several different functions that we need. I'm going to talk through them here in the context of this code because it's going to be the same pattern over and over whenever we want to work with video. All right, so we are importing OpenCV as always, and then OpenCV has this command. So those of you who have done object-oriented programming, this is a constructor. There is a class called VideoCapture, and we are making a VideoCapture object. Those of you who have not done object-oriented program before, it looks like a function. It's a special kind of a function that builds an object. So we make a VideoCapture object, and then I'm saving it into this variable vidCap. There's nothing special about the name vidCap. I just chose that so I would remember it was a video capture object, but I could have called it St. Augustine, and Python would be just as happy and work just as well. Don't do that though. Give variables good names. Don't give them bad names. Here when I say 0 with a video capture, that's telling it that I want it to connect to a webcam, and I want it to, while it's connected to the webcam, connect to the default. So if you have a built-in webcam, likely it will be number 0. If you don't, or if you have a very strange computer, sometimes you will discover that it's not at position 0. It's actually 1 or 2 or 3. And if you need to plug in an external webcam, it may or may not number one of them as 0. That depends on the internal hardware, where the bus lines run, and all of this extra stuff that many of us don't really want to think about what's going on inside the computer. Just know that most of the time 0 will connect to the default webcam, and if it doesn't, then you experiment with trying other numbers until you find the one that works. We can also put in here a string, which is a path to a video file. Not all video files will work with OpenCV. It can only read certain formats. It's much more restrictive than it is with images. AVI is a format that it reads fairly well, and I believe it'll also read most MP4s, but you do have to be careful. Now notice, this is a computer vision library. It's not going to capture the sound that's stored. It's not going to capture the audio from the webcam. It's not going to capture the audio from a file. It's only going to work with the images. So just be prepared for that. All right, so vidCap is this fancy object. It's talking to the operating system and it's saying, send me some frames from the camera or the file. It's ready to go. It's possible for the connection to the camera to fail, or the connection to the file not to work, just like sometimes we can't read in an image. So there's a possibility that the vidCap object will not work successfully, and there are a couple of different ways to check that. One is, in your notes it talked about this function called isOpened. IsOpened is a tool. You can ask about a webcam to see whether it is open, but I often don't worry about it because if it happens, I'm going to catch it somewhere else. All right, the next main thing we have is a big while loop. This is the loop that's going to read frames from the camera and display them over and over and over as quickly as it can. And then down at the bottom, we have one command at the end of everything, which is vidcap.release. This is a really good idea because it's your program telling the operating system, I'm done with the camera, release it, you can have the camera back. If you don't put this command in your program, there is a small chance that the operating system will not notice that your program is done with the camera and will leave it in an opened state. And this gets a little scary. We're always worried about someone spying on us through our webcams. No one's going to spy on you through this webcam, but it could look like that because it could be on when nothing is actually running and using the camera. So just make sure you put this in here so that we tidy the camera away at the end and you don't run into any problems. All right, let's focus on what's going on inside the while loop. There's not a lot here really. It'll start at the bottom. Here we're just displaying an image. I happen to call the image frame because we typically refer to the frames of a video, but it's just an image. We're displaying it and then we're waiting just as always. The thing that's different is the first line, and then we have an if statement to help us manage if the camera connection fails. So here we're referring to the video capture object and we're saying read. This asks the video capture object to get a frame from the camera. So it sends a message to the operating system which says, hey webcam, send us an image, and the image comes back to VidCap and it returns that image to us along with another value. The first value is a Boolean. It's a true false. So it's kind of a flag that says, yes, I successfully read an image, or oops, I didn't actually read an image. So if it's true, that means you have an image and frame is going to hold that data, that image data. If it's false, it means the camera connection didn't work, or we're at the end of the video and frame is not anything real. So I put in a little if statement here that says if you didn't get a frame, if frame is not true, in other words, if frame is false, or got frame is false, then we're going to print a little message just so we know that that's why the program is ending, and then we will break out of the while loop and the program will end. Otherwise, this is getting us an image, and this line down here is displaying the image, and then we wait for a key to press. All right, I'm going to run this. There we go. Wow, that's big. All right, so it's sitting there and it's still. Why is it still? Well, because in the code, if I flip back there really quickly, I'm doing a normal wait key. Wait key waits for me to press a key, and then it does something. So this is the first image that it read of me, and if I hit a key, it'll update. Now I can put a hand up and you can see that it's kind of doing something. All right, so why is it's not going smoothly frame by frame? That's because the program in the state that it is in is programmed to wait for the user to press a key. We have seen examples. We did a couple of little animations earlier. It's possible that you might remember that we can have it not wait so long. So I'll just change it, and I'm going to say 30. I could say something smaller. I could say 10. If you give wait key a positive number, it will wait that many milliseconds for the user to press a key. And if they haven't pressed a key, then it just goes on. It just finishes its own work and lets the program proceed. So this will cause the program to wait 10 milliseconds and then go on to the next frame. Why do I bother calling wait key at all? Because one of the tasks that wait key has is to make sure the window that's displaying the picture is actually visible. And those 10 milliseconds might be the time I need for it to actually pop that window up and make it so that we can see it. All right, I'm going to try this again. I'll switch back to the other view before I run the program so that you can see it running from the very beginning. And there's my video. And look at that. Now the video is running. It's essentially real time. I don't know if you can see any differences, but it's more or less running in real time. Now the fun thing is that we can do all kinds of things to this video image, and all of the tools that we've been doing in recent days, we can apply to the video image, and they'll work just fine. Now, one thing I'll note is I did not leave any way for us to quit this program. We're in the while loop, and it's going to go forever. So I really do have to like come up here and hit the stop button, or otherwise kill the program to get it out of it. So I'm going to bring back, let's go take a close-up look. I'm going to bring back the commented out section that I had before and put it back in. And I'm actually going to change this because this is more complex than it actually needs to be. Okay. Let's talk through what this part that I just put back is doing. So we have 30 here. I'm going to put 10. It is a little closer to like the right number of frames per second if we only wait 10 milliseconds. And that is plenty long for most computers to pop up the window. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually recording what happens when I call wait key. So wait key, in addition to pausing for that amount of time, if the user presses a key, it will return the integer value of the key that was pressed. And if they don't press a key, it returns -1, so we know that they didn't press a key. So then I'm going to take a look at X, and I can actually have the program respond to me based on what I do with this X, what key I press. So the first thing I have here is an if statement that says if X is greater than 0. This is just because if I didn't hit a key, there's nothing for me to respond, for the program to respond to. I just want it to keep going. So if the return value from wait key was -1, that means I didn't press anything, then this if statement will not run, nothing in the true part will run. It'll just skip this and move on to the next frame. So we'll skip down to the bottom of the loop, go back to the top, and keep going. If I do hit a key, then X will be a value greater than or equal to 0. I suppose I should set it to be greater than or equal to 0. It would be odd if you pressed a key that generated 0, but that's okay. What I'm doing there then, so what X is it's the ASCII or Unicode code for the key on the keyboard that I pressed. I would like to transform that into a character. So that's what the CHR function does. You give it the number, and it gives you the corresponding character in ASCII or Unicode. ASCII is an old form, and it only had the original ASCII only had 128 keys for the keyboard. The extended version had 255, which allows for all the different control keys. Unicode is much, much bigger because it allows for multiple different language writing systems, but ASCII is still a core part of Unicode, and the numbers are still the same even in Unicode. Anyway, this is converting from the number to the character. I'm then going to ask, did they type Q? And if they did, we break out of the while loop. So I can hit a Q and get out of the while loop. Let's run this. I'll show you that it works. Go back out to the big screen. There I've got my video running. It's live. I can do wonderful things. And then when I want to quit, I hit the Q key and the program ends. All right, I want to show you that we can do some fun and silly things with this. So I'm going to go back and take a closer up look. And what I'm going to do is flip between a negative view and a positive. And because we did the negative in an earlier video where we do negative 255. So I want to do this, but I want to control it with the keyboard key. So this is going to be a little tricky. All right, I'm going to set up a flag variable. It's a Boolean variable up here, which is do negative, and it's going to be false initially. And down here, I'm going to add a little piece that says if they didn't hit Q, then did they hit N? All right, so this is a very strange statement. I'll explain it to you. Do negative is a Boolean variable. So here I'm saying read the old value of do negative and negate it. So if it was true, turn it into false. If it was false, turn it into true, and then save that back into the variable do negative. So I've set up a Boolean toggle. Every time I hit the N key, it'll flip from true to false or false to true, back and forth. And then in here, I'm going to write an if statement. If do negative, then frame equals 255 minus frame. So what this says is when do negative is true, change frame so that it's the negative of the original. And remember, frame is fresh. Each time through the loop, we get a fresh image from the webcam. And then I'll display it. All right, I need to set this up so you can see pretty much the whole program at once. If I have fewer blank lines, I can do that. There, I got all of the main code except the import statement in. So you can see the whole thing at once. I'm setting up this variable initially to be false. If it's true, then I'm going to do this image manipulation. Regardless, I'm going to display the frame that I'm getting and then wait for the user to type a key. And I can either type Q to quit the program or N to flip from showing the negative to not showing the negative, or vice versa. All right, let's go out to the screen, main desktop screen, and let's run this thing. All right, initially, doesn't look any different. Now I'm going to hit the N key on my keyboard, and we get a negative. Now it looks really different. If I hit the N key again, it goes back to normal. Every time I hit the key. And I can move around in the negative view. It's a lot of fun. So we are going to spend a fair amount of time just trying out image processing techniques on the web view because it's appealing. It's kind of fun to make the interesting effects. It gives you a little insight into some of the techniques that are used by more sophisticated programs to do interesting effects in movies and video games and other contexts. All right, so this is a start. This is basically all you really need to understand how to work with webcams. There's a separate section about being able to write videos to a file. I think I might make a short video that's just about that. Mostly you just want to use the same format for writing to a file every time, but we'll see if I can do that in a separate video. I will see you very soon.